We went to see Nile Rodgers at Haydock Park on tour 2023. So what was it like? If you aren't aware of Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, where have you been? Having said that, their music will have touched you in some way or another over the past 50 years since the pair got together. 1970s where it all began, when Nile and Bernard first met whilst working as session musicians for Sesame Street. They formed the Big Apple Band and later performed in a further project called New York City, where they opened up shows for the Jackson 5. Later, the pair were forced to change their name from the Big Apple Band to what would become known as Chic in 1977. That same year, they released their self-titled first album, which included the hit singles Dance, Dance, Dance and Everybody Dance. In 1978, Chic recorded a further hit single, Good Times, which was released the following year. Constructed around Bernard Edwards' distinctive bass line, it is one of the most copied and sampled records as demonstrated by rappers the Sugar Hill Gang in 1980. Queen's Another One Bites the Dust is yet a further example of the bassist John Deacon having been influenced by Bernard Edwards' bass line. This opened the path for the pair to write and produce songs with other artists. Sister Sledge, We Are Family was released in 1979, which is the first time that the pair had written and produced material for another artist. The single made it to number 8 in the UK singles charts. Diana Ross' I'm Coming Out came along the following year to huge success in 1980 and is the second single from her self-titled 10th studio album. Following on from a misunderstanding about the original meaning of the track, Diana Ross opened her later shows with this song. David Bowie's Let's Dance followed in a further collaboration in 1983. This featured a little-known Texan blues guitarist by the name of Stevie Ray Vaughan on lead guitar. Today, Let's Dance is Bowie's biggest selling album of all time. Madonna in 1984 collaborated with Rodgers and Edwards, resulting in the hit tracks Like a Virgin and Material Girl from the self-titled album Like a Virgin. Both tracks made it to the UK charts at number 3 in 1985. Duran Duran was the next stop for the pair in 1986 with the hit single Notorious, which reached number 1 for 2 weeks on the UK single charts. This led on to further collaborations where Nile Rodgers took the place of Andy Taylor as guitarist in the band after Taylor had left. Rodgers is known to say that Duran Duran is his second band. But what about that guitar? So it's called the Hitmaker, which has been used during all of the composing of all the hit tracks. It has a 1960s hardtail lightweight body and is matched to a 1959 maple neck, which was purchased for $149. Rodgers is rarely seen without this guitar, which features ultralight strings, Gibson speed knobs and a mirrored pickguard, which he uses to reflect bright stage lights into the eyes of young attractive women at shows. Fender currently sell a Nile Rodgers Hitmaker signature guitar, which you can buy for just under £2,500. Sadly, Bernard died in Japan whilst touring with Chic in 1996, and Nile has since become a 2-time survivor of cancer. Nile Rodgers and Chic continue to tour extensively, and we caught up with their UK show on the 11th of August at Haydock Park. Now, Haydock Park Raceway is actually a horse racing course. Now, Michelle likes a bit of a flutter. I know nothing at all about horses at all. but I do like good music, and when tickets came up for sale for the Nile Rodgers and Chic show, we naturally jumped to the chance. We booked tickets, we got in the car, we watched some great horse racing, and we went to the show. And we got centre stage right at the front, probably about, well, not right at the front, but like 2 rows back, so we had a great view, we really did. I'm stood there and I'm taking in the ambience of the stage. But one bit that did interest me was when the guitar technician came on stage with the hitmaker Fender Stratocaster, which is Nile Rodgers' guitar, which has been the pen, if you will, for writing and composing many hit songs over many, many years. Now the guitar tech brought this on and he started tuning it on stage, and I thought, that is the guitar that I've come to see. Now some guy stood next to me, he said, and I quote this, he says, "You do know that is not Nile Rodgers, don't you?" And I thought, now what I do like to do at these shows is, now I could see into the wings of the stage, left and right partially, and what I could see in the distance firstly was I could see Audrey Martell's getting issued with a radio microphone. A short while after that I could see through the 2 layers of the keyboards, I could see a right hand going like that on a white Stratocaster, and as I looked closely I could see it was Nile Rodgers warming up. I thought, wow, that's great. And these are the little tricks that I want to see. These are the things that make these shows tick, and I loved it. Not too far after that, the actual show started, and I have to say, I am a critic and I do like to take it all in, and this is what I found. So the lineup of Chic is as follows: Nile Rodgers doing fantastic guitar work and vocals. You've then got Kimberly Davis on lead vocals as well. You've also got Audrey Martell's on lead vocals on the other side of the stage, Jerry Barnes on bass, Ralph Roll on drums, Richard Hilton on keyboards, Russell Graham on keyboards, Brandon Wright on saxophone, and we've got Steve Jankowski on trumpet. So that's the band lineup. They came on stage, lots of energy, the crowd were loving it, the lighting's going, there's a great atmosphere, and they kicked off the show with a Chic classic called Le Freak. And I have to say, I'm there, I'm listening, I'm picking the bones out, the sound mix, I'm big on sound. I could hear every frequency within the mix of that set list, I really could, and it's fantastic. The lighting was great, the stage was brilliant, and I have to say, it was very good. Now, it was a fast-paced moving show, and we were quickly into Everybody Dance, yet another Chic favourite. This was followed by Dance, 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 Yowza, 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 another classic, and these 3 songs were just bang, bang, bang. The momentum was huge and it was absolutely brilliant. The energy was building all the time, and I was so impressed by the show at this point. I thought, what next is going to come along? Okay, so the first 3 songs were real good powerhouses, but the 4th song was just the same. I Want Your Love followed by We Are Family, which is another great track and a cover by Sister Sledge. Brilliant. And I quickly picked up on the fact that this show wasn't just a show just playing great music. It was also what I felt a biography to the life in the music industry of not only Nile Rodgers, but also Bernard as well, his co-founder of Chic. And it was absolutely a testament to both these guys to be educating myself and everybody in the audience about what they've managed to do with their lives in terms of being successful. Now, this led on nicely to Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out, and tracks like that. They penned that back in the day, which was just yet another massive hit. Again, the momentum was still rolling. We've got Like a Virgin and Material Girl, Madonna, both brilliant tracks, sung by Audrey Martell's brilliantly. Now, this takes me back to the age of being around about 16 years of age. I was on my motorcycle going to work. I worked in a factory in engineering. The thing I remember about that album was I took it to a party and it got stolen. And whoever's got it, I'm still looking for you. This was followed very quickly by Get Lucky, which is a Daft Punk cover. Again, brilliant, high-paced. Lose Yourself to Dance, which is another Daft Punk cover. Again, fantastic. You sort of get the vibe now. A lot of these titles in these tracks contain the word dance, which is what this band is all about. It's all about getting everybody moving in the world of disco.
It's the theme song of this band. It's what we stand for. Peace, love, and good time.
So we move on to David Bowie, Let's Dance, another great track. And if you were to watch Premier Guitar Channel, they've just released 2 videos. One is a rig rundown on Nile Rodgers' gear, but the next one is an interview with Chris from the Foo Fighters, one lead guitarist there, and he interviews Nile Rodgers over the course of about an hour and 10 minutes. Now, I've watched this a few times now because I found it so interesting. David Bowie came out with some chord progressions right at the bottom of the neck at the first fret, and Nile Rodgers thought, not really sure about what you're doing there on the guitar, Dave. Like the idea of the song, leave it with me overnight and I'll come back with some good stuff. And he did, and he was playing all the funky kind of stuff at the top of the neck. So that was yet another great track. But by this point, the audience is going mad. It's gone dark, the lighting's fantastic, and I'm thinking, wow, can this not possibly get any better than this? Now, this brings me right up to one of the bands that I do really enjoy and I've loved again since around about the age of 16, and that is Duran Duran. We perform in our band a great song called Ordinary World, which is Duran Duran's biggest streamed song ever. I was blown away by Notorious, and I did not actually know that Nile Rodgers penned that song with Duran Duran. I really did not know. That's what you find when you're doing research for programs like this, little bits of nuggets of information that really make you think, wow, never knew that. So we're moving on to the last song of the night. There's no finale with the Nile Rodgers shows. There's none of this walking off and pretending that's the night finish, then coming back on again and doing 3 or 4 more songs. Your last song of the night was Good Times, and it moved into the Rapper's Delight version as well. What a great track to finish the night on. I went there open-minded because I've not seen Nile Rodgers and Chic. I've read about them quite a lot, and they were a bucket list band that I wanted to go and see, and I will go watch them again because I thoroughly enjoyed it. So standout performances within the band. One person really comes to light, and that has to be Jerry Barnes on bass. He did not stop. He was all over the stage from left to right and back to the front, and every time he played his bass, his feet were in rhythm with his bass line, and I thought he's absolutely brilliant. His expression on his face, it was almost like he was immersed in the moment. It was almost like he was going to burst into tears with passion. And when he and Nile Rodgers went into, I forget what track it was, just an absolute blur at the minute. I'll probably find it on a video on YouTube somewhere, but it sounded like artillery fire from his bass. It just sounded just immense. I was at the front just thinking, it's going mad. But every credit to the bass player in that show because you were absolutely brilliant, and I loved it. I really loved it. So what would Gigs and Guitars give Nile Rodgers and Chic in terms of a score out of 10? Well, to be honest, and I'll be brutally honest with this, guys, if I could give them 11 out of 10, I would do, but that's impossible. So it's going to have to be a very firm 10 out of 10. So well done, guys. Absolutely brilliant. We loved it. If you're thinking of getting tickets but are on the borderline of actually delving into it, I strongly suggest that you do get some tickets for the show. You will not be disappointed. They're still currently touring America at the minute with Duran Duran, again one of my favourite bands, and towards the end of October they are disappearing down to the south of the hemisphere to Australia to do a tour there. So you guys around the world, you're in for a treat. Get those tickets booked, and if you've enjoyed this edition of Gigs and Guitars, please help the channel by subscribing, and there's always time in the day for a brew. Cracking.